Mabuhay! Kumusta? I am Patty Jo and I am a YouTuber that shares random things that I find in the internet. From weird news, current events, or educational vlogs, you name it. If you're interested, please consider subscribing and hit that small notification bell for more updates.
Yeah, I bet you didn't expect this pink lipstick. Me neither.
Now, without further ado, let's powwow! New video, but this is different. It is about the hot issue here in Philippines. So, it will be slightly different from my previous uploads. Because here, I will be stating my own opinions. The Manila Bay Rehabilitation. Manila Bay is one of the notable places here in Manila, the capital city of the Philippines. It is a natural harbor strategically located around the capital city, which serves the port of Manila. Due to various uncontrolled development taking place over the years, the natural environment is now facing numerous problems from different sectors. They are identified as deterioration of water quality, coastal erosion and siltation, overexploitation of fishery resources, degradation of habitats, loss of biodiversity, overpopulation, and pollution from land and sea-based sources. Last 2019, DNR Secretary Roy Simatu officially declared the start of the Manila Bay Rehabilitation at the Baywalk, Manila. It is dubbed as the Battle for Manila Bay.
Dramatic.
It is the priority activity in the implementation of our operational plan for the Manila Bay Coastal Strategy 2017 to 2022. There are 3 phases. Phase 1 will be the cleanup, water quality improvement, such as the cleanup of designated estuaries and waterways. Phase 2 will be rehabilitation and resettlement, such as the rehabilitation of old sewers in National Capital Region or NCR, and the relocation of informal settlers. Phase 3 will be education and sustainment, continuing education of citizens to protect the gains and sustain law enforcement and monitoring. So the Bay Area covers 8 provinces and 178 local government units. The 3 regions of the country, namely the National Capital Region, Region 3, and Region 4A. Of the 8 provinces, 4 are coastal and 4 are non-coastal. There are 17 principal river systems draining to the Manila Bay, namely Angat River, Bukawi River, Santa Maria River, Marilao River, etc. Now I will introduce the Manila Bay Task Force. Current President Rodrigo Duterte created the task force to speed up the rehabilitation in Manila Bay to ensure the rehabilitation, restoration, and conservation. They are composed by multiple government agencies with the support of the local government units. This is in accordance to Rodrigo Duterte's Administrative Order Number 6 dated February 19, 2019, the expediting the rehabilitation and restoration of the coastal and marine ecosystem, the Manila Bay, and creating the Manila Bay Task Force. This is in line with the Supreme Court's writ of continuing mandamus, whereas directed concerned government agencies and private entities to clean up, rehabilitate, preserve, and maintain the waters of the Manila Bay to a level that is fit for swimming, skin diving, and other forms of recreation. Now I will mention some operational plans to rehabilitate the Manila Bay. So the mandamus likewise orders the decimating and removal of illegal structures along the following waterways that discharge water waste into the Manila Bay. So in the Manila sewage system, around 16,000 people from 181 barangays in Metro Manila participated in simultaneous cleanup activities along the estuaries and rivers that drain into Manila Bay. The cleanup activities were held in 21 impact sites or those which are heavily polluted. More than 70 tons of solid waste were collected from the esteros during the cleanup. All the illegal settlers will be relocated to a better place since they also contribute to the pollution. The solar-powered sewage treatment plant in Manila Bay, launched last July 30, 2020, aims to address the problems with household wastewater discharge that contributes to the pollution in Manila Bay. Manila Bay cleanup operations. More than 3,810 tons of garbage and water hyacinth and silt have been removed from Manila Bay coastal line and drainage system, discharging to the bay since the government started its rehabilitation program. And just to remind you, it's been years, decades since this kind of cleanup in the Manila Bay. The Manila Bay White Sand Project. This White Sand Project is part of the 389 million peso beach enhancement for the bay. It is through beach nourishment. The DNR will be replacing the natural sand of the bay, thus dumping artificial sand, the crushed dolomite. Dolomite is known to be used as a substitute to artificial sands, although they pose health risks to both marine ecosystems and the public's health. Here's the part where I will be stating the summarized opinions in both parties, then I will add my own viewpoint. Ill-timed and insensitive. Amidst of the pandemic, basically throwing millions of money in the bay. The dolomite is not a natural feature of the bay, thus will be washed out due time through coastal erosion, storm surges, etc. The beach nourishment requires forecast until when the next nourishment is required and should be utilized instead for aids or ayuda, and also utilized for students' long distance and blended learning. The project was already approved in 2019 and was already long overdue. Years of neglect, the once natural beauty of the deteriorated Manila Bay has now come to this. Having to cancel a project, the funds will automatically be no use since it was already planned to be utilized in the Manila Bay Rehabilitation. So rather have the budget to go in the pockets of corrupt officials, it will be better to have some changes in Manila Bay. Now, I would totally understand that it is ill-timed, as VP Lenny and Risa Hontiveros said. However, it was already stated that it was approved last 2019, the time where there is no pandemic. Who would really know that this global crisis will suddenly arrive? And there are also geotubes placed around Manila Bay for preventing the artificial sand to be washed out. The budget should have been sufficient to turn Manila Bay into mangrove forests. Mangroves serve many important purposes to marine environment and coastal communities, including coastal community protection against strong waves and strong surges, flood regulations, pollution filters, fish sanctuaries. In terms of tourism, having this white sand project will certainly boost the industry since Manila Bay is known to have a beautiful sight during sunset. It will attract more tourists and investors to create more jobs for the people. More jobs means more means of occupation for Filipinos so that they can sustain their own families. Although I love the plan of boosting it for tourism purposes, I'm also not opposed of the idea of turning Manila Bay to a mangrove forest. Because in my opinion, Manila Bay needs thorough cleaning. But I guess this beach nourishment plan for tourism is for long-term health risk to the public. Dolomite is hazardous when inhaled, irritation to the eyes, and could even cause lung cancer. The DOH clarified that only the dolomite dust can cause health risk when inhaled. It is generated during crushing and screening of the dolomite. The DNR assured that the particles of the dolomite are bigger than sand and look like small rocks. I'm no health expert, but having dolomite pose these kinds of threat is kind of alarming. But it says that the DNR assured that they had studied it thoroughly and concluded that there will be no risk. Nevertheless, do not forget, it is artificial sand. There is bound to have risk. Dumping fake sand may be considered pollution because the dolomite is not part of the bay. DENR defended that dumping of crushed dolomite in Manila Bay shoreline would discourage littering.
You don't know that.
Lack of awareness to littering can be challenging, especially to Filipinos. No hate. But if we will add the phase 3 of the rehabilitation plan in Manila Bay, I guess there is hope, but artificial sand could pose harm to the marine environment. Tons of fishes float dead at Baseco Beach. Manila Bay is acidic. With dolomite, it can balance the pH levels and turn the water into alkaline. The DNR also says that it is impossible for the dolomite to be the cause of the dead fishes in Baseco Beach. My knowledge is limited with this, but according to studies that there are really benefits of turning acidic waters, the pH levels being neutralized using dolomite. About the dead fishes of Baseco Beach, you might say that it's impossible, but I will just remind the fact that these are actually one of the effects of beach nourishment. Because of something not natural at the bay, it will cause disruption in the marine ecosystem. But again, it might cause from water salinity. Water salinity is the total concentration of salts in the water. The Supreme Court mandamus of the Administrative Order Number 16 dated February 19, 2019 never mentioned any beautification component programs such as the present project of DENR. DENR insisted that the Manila Bay's white sand beach is beneficial to the mental health of Filipinos, especially during this pandemic. It is also not the matter of beautifying since they claim that dolomites will be beneficial to the Manila Bay waters. Beach nourishment is for aesthetic purposes. You can change my mind otherwise. And I did read the Executive Order number 16, and I can also verify that there is really no mention of the beautification for the Manila Bay. As for the aesthetics, it's okay since Manila Bay has a great view of the sunset, but rather than garbage littering at the coastline.
And, the smell.
The Manila Bay is still dirty. Instead of wasting funds in beautifying, why not use it to further cleaning the bay before having cosmetic beautification if the goal is to turn the bay into a place for recreational? There are already efforts of operational activities cleaning up the bay. The DENR wishes that the LGUs will take their part in rehabilitating the bay, such as keeping it clean. This is actually one of the opinions that I approve. The reason why is that I totally love the idea of mangrove forests. Mangrove forests not only clean the murky waters of Manila Bay, but can also shelter the fishery resources that we have and can totally beat the coastal erosion since it can hold off wave currents during storms. Not only that, I personally think that it would look nice to have a mangrove forest in Manila Bay for
Aesthetic purposes.
Sure, you can tell me that there are already efforts in cleaning up the Manila Bay. Okay, I acknowledge that. I never said I didn't acknowledge that. However, you know that Manila Bay's waters are practically dead. And if you add the esteros and other waterways,
It's practically dead.
it's dirty. They should at least sustain it for a little while before the cosmetic beautification. Lack of an environmental impact study and environmental compliance certification as a violation of the Fisheries Code, the Local Government Code, and the Environmental Impact Assessment System Act. Also includes that there are multiple violations to the Natural Cultural Heritage Act and the Clean Water Act. The DENR stated that the project is not included for the ECC certification. I honestly doubt that the Manila Bay is excluded to the ECC rules. It's really something fishy here. No pun intended. There is a source claiming that the DNR violated its own rules just for the sake of the white sand project. If that's the case, I would definitely agree with Nancy Binay and the others who are seeking proofs, such as the public consultations, certificates. The number one priority is the certificate from the DNR. So I would just mention this. The DNR violated some laws and their own regulations on environment compliance certificates. One of the things that they have also violated is the Presidential Decree number 1586, or the Environmental Impact Statement System Law, that says no person, partnership, or corporation shall undertake or operate any such declared environmentally critical project or area without first securing environmental compliance certificate issued by the President or his duly authorized representative. Firstly, they should have the EIA process. Environmental impact assessment is a process that involves predicting and evaluating the likely impacts of a project, including cumulative impacts on the environment during construction, commissioning, operation, and abandonment. It also includes designing appropriate preventive, mitigating, and enhancement measures addressing the consequences to protect the environment and the community's welfare. It is used to enhance planning and guide decision making through this process. Through the EIA process, adverse environmental impacts of proposed actions are considerably reduced through a reiterative review process of project setting, design, and other alternatives, and the subsequent formulation of environmental management and monitoring plans. A positive result can environmental compliance commitment, or the ECC, will be released. It allows the project to proceed to the next stage of project planning, which is acquisition of approvals from the other government agencies and LGUs, after which the project can start its implementation. According to the Executive Order number 669 issued in 1999, there is a need to effort the preservation of a certain portions in the waters of Manila Bay and its foreshore area thereof to introduce and maintain suitable and appropriate facilities to conserve and maximize the site's tourism potential. So it's been a truly messy year, and having issues like this can cause immediate uproar that no one can imagine. In my perspective, both parties have valid points in terms of the rehabilitation method of the Manila Bay. Every one of us has different opinions in life. It just depends if those opinions will be beneficiary. I'm not saying that your opinions are invalid. I believe with the freedom of speech too. I value the opinions of both parties since I have my own opinions too. So we will see what will happen in the next few weeks or months. I will be keeping posts in my Twitter account and be updated with whatever is happening with the Manila Bay Rehabilitation, the White Sand Project. So that's it for our powwow. I hope you learned a lot since I try to be informative as possible. Even though I stated my own opinions here, I try to be sticking to facts. I hope you all are safe and have a good night rest. Because I don't. Watch out for a new video soon. Bye-bye!